This video will cover how to make a blank price list. In order to make a price list, first you must have the manufacturer created. Pricing is underneath manufacturers. You can see here it's a sub-menu, and we will use My Manufacturer. So we'll assume that you've already created the manufacturer. If you go into pricing, you'll notice that My Manufacturer is not here, and that's because the default is with pricing. My Manufacturer is with pricing. So these are manufacturers that already have price lists. So if your manufacturer isn't there, just click My Manufacturers and you'll notice now it's listing all manufacturers, and there is My Manufacturer. You select a manufacturer, you'll see that right now the price list is empty. And now you can click File, New Price List. You could use New Price List like if you already had one and you wanted to copy some of the features from that price list. But in this case, we're going to do New Price List. It opens a dialog where you can give it a name. It could be just simply Price List Created 9/16. It could be Main Price List, you name it, whatever you want. You can give it a description. And then you want to give it an effective start and end date. This is for the entire price list. There are also line level expirations as well that we'll go over in another video. You have 5 tabs. The first one is the price list, where you list the individual parts and their pricing. Customer exceptions tab, where you can enter in exceptions to pricing for specific customers. All the different pricing levels that you can create. There's 15 price levels in addition to book, and you can name them or label them any way that makes sense to you. What work groups have access to those prices, and this is in case you need to delineate between different work groups. You'll also notice that you can delineate between quotes and orders too. So you could have one work group has access to the price list only in quotes, and a different work group has it in orders. Or you can select them all. And then finally there's attachments, and this is just like attachments in any other transaction in Oasis. You can save anything in there. So first you have part number field. Before I actually list them, you can use file preferences to add different fields. So the default fields are already there, but you can add quite a few different fields. So let's just say we're going to use these standard fields. The part is, I'll just call it part 1. And the description, I'll just list this test. This is just text to explain it. The book price will be $5. The book commission will be, we'll say 15%. Price level 1 is $6 at 12%. Price level 2 is, we'll say $7. I'm just using random numbers. You would obviously enter what you need. And you can do up to 15 different price levels, but we'll say in this example, I just got a few price levels. Then you can go right down to part 2, and it's a different part with different data. Okay. When you're done, you can just, my save and close was off the screen, but now it's on the screen. You can click save and close. It's going to ask you, would you like to change this effective start date to equal that within the price list? You can say yes. Then it'll ask you if you want to make it active. In this case, we're going to make it active. And then if I minimize and expand, I have the price list that I created. And you'll notice that I didn't change the effective end date. It's going to become effective and end on the same day. So let's say you were going to do a year-long price list. You could push this out to September 2016. And it's going to ask, anytime you change this date, would you like the overall effective end date to apply to the end date for individual items? I'm going to cancel in this case because I'm going to show you something. It'll confirm that it's in the future, and that's okay. You have one other feature called File Discover Data. Let's say you have a giant price list with a lot of data already in it, and you just want to see what's in there and what fields have data. If you click File Discover Data, it's going to show you the fields that have data. So if you look, effective start and effective end applies to each part. You can individually control, let's say this part's only good till 12/31/15, and this part is good to 9/16/15. 9/16/16. That'll allow you to control the expiration of parts at the individual level. However, if your part list does require that all parts be the same, you just make a change to the date, and it's going to ask, would you like to make it for all items? And if you hit change, it's going to go and put them all the way through. So just keep in mind that sometimes you might show a part that's expired. You need to double check the part list expiration date as well as the individual line item. Okay, now that we have the price list in here, we can go to the levels name tab, and we can give these levels a name. We'll say price level 1 is min. This may not make sense with the data I entered. We'll just say price level 2 is target, and the last one is max. You also can control which prices are regular prices and which ones are overageable. Overageable means that it will calculate overage on there. And then the last thing you'll want to do is set the order path and quote path. For example, if you want on orders to select level 1, if there is a price on level 1 first, go there. But if there is not a price on level 1, I want you to use level 2. And you can use level 3. And you do the same with quote path. Again, you control what levels, and this allows the automated feature to work for when you're entering quotes. And you'll see now that I saved and reopened it, it actually applied these labels down here once you save it. I made it active for all work groups when I saved and closed it earlier, so it automatically checked it. Again, you would use this to control which ones you want. And customer exceptions, you could put an individual exception. We'll say part 1, and the customer is, we'll say it's Tri-County Distributors, and they have a special price of $350 at 15%. You can also enter a manufacturer quote number if that's needed. And you'll notice that it carried over the expiration date that I had before. So anytime I use Tri-City District in a quote or an order, and I use part 1, it's going to use this price instead of this that you have selected. Okay, now that we've created the price list, I'm just going to show you in projects how if you have a new project, we're just going to create a blank one, go straight to the bid, and I'm going to enter basic quantity 1 and enter my manufacturer. I start typing in the parts. It's going to look in the part list. Obviously, if you have thousands of parts, it's going to trim that down. In this case, I only have 2. And when I select part 1, it pulls in the price based on the level name tab that was needed, as well as the commission.